Well, I'm still optimistic, but we haven't got an offer that we can consider. The companies came up with a package recently that we put to our members in a mass consultation all around the country, and they found that the conditions attached to that very modest offer, a poor offer really, are not acceptable. So there's a debate going on between us and the companies about what they should do next. They've got to get a mandate from the government. We're expecting to meet with them early next week, possibly Tuesday, to discuss the next steps. But they've really got to put some new money on the table, and they've got to take away these conditions that our members find unacceptable. And hopefully, if we can do that through constructive conversation, we can put a package to our people for them to consider in a vote. But at the moment, it's just not there.
So it's the money and it's the conditions. Just, Mick, you know, this has been running on for, as you well know and as passengers know, for a good few months now. What are those conditions that your members cannot accept?
Well, the companies have stated to me across the table they're going to close every ticket office in Britain. They're going to introduce new contracts of employment that will lower the wages, not increase them, of new starters in our industry. They want to lower the wages of guards. They want to bring driver-only operation across the network as a principle, so that in the future there will be no second person on a train, even intercity trains that are operating out of Euston here. They want to dilute the sick pay. They want to dilute our holiday pay. They want to make Sunday working mandatory in areas where it's never been mandatory, so people get no choices. I think there are 18 items of conditionality on this offer, and the offer itself is below half the rate of inflation over the 2 years that this dispute has been in 22 and 23. And of course, we haven't had a pay rise in this industry for 3 years. So if you stack all that up, it's a very poor offer compared to the problems that our members are facing, the cost of living crisis and all the rest of it. But what is really at the forefront of our members' thinking is the conditions of employment and the benefits that we get from our employment are being diluted, as they have been for so many workers in Britain, many of whom are on a casual basis, on 0 hours and all the rest of it, where other people have gone, and we're not going to tolerate that. We need good benefits, we need proper agreements, and we don't want these conditions imposed upon us. We want an agreement on the future of the railway, and if we can get that, we can get a settlement.
We don't have loads of time. I do want to get a few more questions to you. I mean, you get any sense that with the fact that nurses' unions and unions representing paramedics are asking their members to accept their pay offer, and teachers are in talks, hearing the junior doctors want to have talks as well, any sense that that's going to affect your negotiating positions? Is there pressure telling now for you guys to try and settle an agreement?
Well, the pressure on us is from our members. Our members need a deal that they can accept. What the difference between our negotiations and everybody else's, it seems, so if you take the fire service, teachers, nurses, doctors, there are no conditions. This is new money that's being introduced, the back pay elements that they've put in last week and the future payments. There are no conditions. They're not saying to nurses, you've got to work different shifts. They're not saying to doctors, you've got to take less sick pay or lower pensions. In fact, they're boosting doctors' pensions, it seems, from the headlines I've seen. They're saying to us in the railway pension scheme that they're going to increase the contributions and lower the benefits. So we call it strings attached. It's the strings that are attached to this deal that really concern our people. We're realistic about what we can achieve on money. But nobody else seems to have these conditions imposed upon them. And equally, nobody else is working for companies in the public sector that are making vast profits. Since the pandemic, these companies have made £400 million of profit. They're going to make over £118 million this year. And they're paying their directors vast amounts of money, millions of pounds being paid in individual salaries. And one of the directors had their salary increased by 275%. Last year, so that's not acceptable. We've got to get a bit of fairness in this system.
And Mick, you mentioned you got pressure from your members. What about pressure from the public? I mean, you said this week that when strike action's not on, many of these train operating companies can't run the railways properly anyway. And then you add further pressure to that when there is strike action. What's the public meant to do?
Well, we're sorry for the inconvenience of the public, but what the public are caught in a system that is completely incompetent. The companies that are extracting these profits from the passengers and from the taxpayer don't care about whether there is a good level of service, because they are being paid on strike days. They were paid all through the pandemic. They are indemnified from any loss in this dispute by a government that's prepared to subsidise an attack on the RMT and on my members for some ideological reason. And that is so that they drive down working conditions and teach the rest of the working class a lesson. And we're not going to accept that lesson from a government of billionaires and oligarchs. So what we're going to do is stand by the conditions and the agreements that we've made, the contracts that we've made, and we hope that other workers in Britain will sympathise with that. We get vast amounts of support. As I travel about the network on non-strike days, people come up to me and shake my hands. They congratulate our members for their steadfast resolve, and they come up to us on our picket lines, which are all around the country today, and
Mick,
say, keep going until you get the result you need.
You are fighting on, and of course it's worth noting as well that the strike action the RMT had with Network Rail has been paused while you negotiate there. What was on the offer there with Network Rail? What did you manage to get through with those guys that you can't resolve with the train operating companies?
Well, they've added money to the deal. The two deals were very similar up until a few weeks ago, and Network Rail have added extra money. Our members will get extra earnings in Network Rail, and it's not available in this deal from the train operating companies. They've also said that the pay offer is not conditional on us accepting the changes that they want to bring in. We'll deal with those changes separately through the machinery and through consultation and through the safety regulator that we've got. But the Network Rail deal is not conditional on us on accepting these changes that they're saying in the train operating companies have to be adopted. So there is a way forward. All of the industry knows what needs to be done, the chief executives that we deal with, but it's the government, the people in Whitehall, that are stopping a deal being done. I think they're going to wait for everybody else to be settled until they deal with the RMT. That's the way they conduct themselves. It's come from Grant Shapps and Rishi Sunak, and before them Boris Johnson. They see the RMT as some kind of target. We're prepared to take that on. We think we've galvanised a lot of change and a lot of change attitudes from trade unions and working people in this country, and that's fair enough.
But the public will suffer while you take that on.
Well, our people are suffering. Our people are suffering. They lose their wages. The government is imposing this dispute on the people and on the passengers. The government could settle it tomorrow if they wish to. They're using the passengers and our members as victims in the crossfire of their ideological dispute with trade unions and the anti-trade union laws that they want to bring in, the suppression of freedoms and all the rest of it.
All right, Mick Lynch, General Secretary of the RMT. You're in talks with the train operating company on Tuesday, you say, and thank you for your time this morning.